Hello and welcome to www.luxurytolast.com. Today we're talking collecting watches, and today we're talking becoming a mini dealer, and this is part 2 in the series. I hope you've enjoyed the first clip. This clip here I want to talk about customer service. And one of the most important things in the watch business is customer service. And this is something that's I think is a great thing to remember there. I've been a mini dealer for a number of years, and although I have actually sold pieces at very low margin, I try to do the best thing I can for my customers. Now that's not always easy, because if a person has bought a $10,000 Rolex from you, and you've only made a couple $100, it's very hard to be able to offer Rolls-Royce type service if something, or if a problem does arise. But I always try and do the best thing I can there. For example, I had a ladies' Datejust I sold to a customer recently, and this was actually one of my wife's watch. And my wife's a nurse, so she doesn't wear the watch a lot. So I had it serviced about 18 months ago, and then every time my wife wore it, I basically hand wound it, and she then would take it off after she'd worn it, which was often only for a couple of hours, because she's not actually allowed to use her watch as a nurse. So I sold it in good intent. I said, look, this was serviced within the last 18 months. And it's working fine. It's a great watch. The price was, I sold it a bit cheap, yes. The margin was a bit low. And then a week later the customer rings me and says it seems to have a problem where it's losing time. When I say it's losing time, it was losing about 5 to 10 minutes a day, which is cause for concern. So I said, look, don't worry, bring the watch to me. I'll take it to my watchmaker, and I'll get it taken care of. Now it turned out there was a very interesting fault with the piece. It had a problem where if you wound it by hand it was fine, but if you ran it on the rotor it was not keeping good time. So that's why that customer had discovered that problem. So it was something I certainly didn't try and sell the customer a dud watch, and I basically took that on the chin, and I paid for that repair, which was that's just how it goes. You've got to give the customer good service. I didn't know the watch was faulty, and that was just that customer then is happy with me. He'll refer friends to me, and that's a good way to go. If I would have said to him, look mate, you screwed me on the price, I'm not doing a thing for you, well, it gets very messy, because he would probably take it to Rolex or an expensive watchmaker, and it would cost a lot more for him to do it than it would cost for me, and then he'd be angry at me, and it just becomes a disaster. So in many ways I try and keep customers happy there. It's not always easy. I mean, customers, I've had people who I've sold or have been selling watches to, and the customers can be quite rude. And I don't know how I can sort of describe this. I remember I had one Vietnamese customer. I was selling a sapphire Rolex two-tone, and he pulled out some money, pulled out a wad of cash from his wallet and said, how about cash now? And he made a really low-ball offer. And I said, mate, your money's not going to impress me. Just coincidentally, I happen to have had $5,000 in my safe. I don't normally keep money at home, but this money had just come in because I'd sold a Breitling. And I said to him, mate, I've got $5,000 here. How about I buy your BMW you're driving for $5,000 cash now on the spot? And I think he understood what I was saying. And this is the thing. You often, as a watch collector, you're on an even keel. But when you are in the watch business, suddenly it turns, and you have to be You have to be very polite to the customers. You've got to be very courteous to the customers. You're not on an even keel. You're in a business relationship, and that's something you've got to understand. And it's better to politely say no. And I he bought the watch, and then he was humming and hawing. Does he get the extra links? He cut the price. The price was shrunken so much. Normally I include the links with it. I said, mate, if you need some links, it's going to cost. I can sell them to you at cost. I said, because I'm just made nothing much on this watch here. And he hummed and hawed. And he said, yes, he needs a link. He took the watch, paid for the watch. Then he said he needs another link. And I said, okay. And he cancelled the appointment a couple of times. And I said, mate, what are you doing to me? I said, I've really made very little on this watch. I'm giving the links to you at cost. I said, if you're going to muck me around, just buy them from a Rolex agent, because you're going to be paying a hell of a lot more than what I would charge you for some links at cost. And that's sometimes it's easy to get a short fuse when you are dealing with some customers, but you've got to try and be cool. It's much better for your business to be cool. Sometimes it's better not to do a deal. I've got two very, very wealthy friends, and one of them gave me a watch to sell. It was a gold Submariner. He gave it to me on consignment and said, I need this much for it. My other friend, who's equally as rich, said to me, I want to buy it for X dollars. And it's just a disaster between the two friends there, because they don't know each other. But I was brokering the deal, and I said to both of them, I said, look, I don't think this deal's going to happen. I said, the other parties, they're quite wealthy, they're successful like yourself, but they're very stubborn. And I said to both parties, I said, this deal isn't going to happen. And sometimes you've got to know when to draw back. Some people take it very personally. Oh, his price is. I said, look, I'm a mini dealer. I'm not a full-time dealer. I do this as a hobby. I love watches. I don't want to upset two friends. I want to keep the business relationship going. And you've got to know when not to sell things at times. And that's a very, very important lesson to learn. Sometimes I prefer to sell pieces to strangers other than friends or family. I'll tell you a story I had here. My father's got a steel Datejust, and he asked me if I could look around for a matching watch for my stepmother, and that's fine. I located one. We agreed on the price. Now I factored into that price that she would need a full service. If I'm selling things to friends or family, I always insist it has a full service and the watch is 100%, because last thing you want to do is sell something to friends or family and it's not ridgy-dig. With strangers, I'll always be honest and upfront. If it hasn't had a service, I'll say to them, look, this is a good watch, however, it hasn't been serviced in a long while, so just be aware of that. And but when I'm selling to friends or family, I always insist it's serviced, unless they're a fellow watch dealer, because otherwise it just leads to trouble. So I had the watch fully serviced, seals replaced, pressure tested, everything done, and okay, that's fine. And then on Christmas Eve, Boxing Day, my father says to me, she's got a little bit of water in the watch, and just fix it and I'll pay for it. Now, it turned out that she'd actually hadn't had the crown. Well, the only thing I could think of is because the seals were replaced, the watch was serviced. The only thing I could think of was the crown wasn't screwed in properly, and what happened was she got salt water in the watch from the saltwater swimming pool, and being Boxing Day, my usual watchmaker was closed for a week and a half. I couldn't actually. I had some Rolex tools to open the case, but it was on so tightly I couldn't actually open it. So I had no option but to wait a couple of days until I could get to another watchmaker to open the damn thing to get the water out. In that time there, it damaged the dial, and it corroded some expensive parts inside there, and it just became an absolute nightmare. It cost a fortune to fix, and it's sort of in that sale there. This is what happens. Sometimes when you sell to family or friends, it can bite you on the ass. And I'd done everything right for that sale. I insisted it got a full service, and it just turned out to be an absolute disaster. In the end, I coughed up a couple $100 to help pay for the repairs, and it's working all fine now. And but it just shows you sometimes you've got to make margin on pieces to cover these sort of things that can go wrong. And that's not my fault that they got salt water into it. It's not my fault that something stupid happened like that. And you've got to, the most important thing is something's wrong with something, take it to a professional to get looked at. And they left it long, and I had to leave it a couple of days because I had no choice. They came to me on Boxing Day, and it was just an absolute disaster. But I think I handled the sale okay. I said to them, look, I think I put a couple $100 in, and I paid for a new dial out of my own pocket. So yeah, customer service is very important in the watch business. There's like any business, you've got to try and do the right thing. Other times I've had customers, one customer came back to me after 5 years and said, oh, that part's not... I said, look, if you're coming back to me after such a long period of time, I said, this is very tough. And you've got to know when to draw the line. I mean, the customer's not always right. The customer isn't always right. But you've got to try and do your best to help the customer. There's no point to antagonize the customer or cause trouble. You've got to try and do your best that you can. But customers in the watch business, once you go from being a collector to a mini dealer, the power balance changes. And I've got other friends who I just actively won't. I had one friend of mine, I said to him, look, no offense, I really like your company, you're a nice person, but I would never ever sell a watch to you. I said, you're just... And I was being polite to him. I said, you're just a pain in the ass to deal with. I like you as a friend, but as a customer, you're awful. I don't need the money that much, and I'd prefer not to sell you any pieces. And because he's just always lowballing, and it at the end of the day, I'm not a dealer to make money out of it. I won't apologize for making profit on pieces, but in the same token, I'm not doing it solely for money. I'm doing it because I love watches, and I want to get the best. I love to do the best thing for my customers, and I want to do the best thing for my collection. And but at the end of the day, if it's not fun anymore, that destroys the whole thing. So I just buy and sell a few pieces occasionally, and I enjoy that. I love having my finger in the pie, so to speak. And I think the important thing is customer service. Try and do the right thing by the customer. Look, I haven't always been perfect. I've got to admit that. It's like any of us, you know. I'm approaching my 40s, and you've learnt a lot. I would certainly I've done things differently 10 years ago than how I'd handle a situation today, and that's experience, and that's always a good thing. I hope you've enjoyed this clip. Please don't forget to come to my free information website, www.luxurytalas.com. Thank you.